Most people assume that turning 70 means your body is automatically fragile, that the muscles shrink, the joints stiffen, the lungs lose capacity, and the brain slows down, and that this decline is just the natural cost of having lived that long. But after years of running a concierge primary care practice focused specifically on adults over 60, I can tell you that this assumption is not accurate. Some of my patients who are 70 years old have the internal biology of someone who is 52. And the difference between someone who ages badly and someone who holds their youth far longer is not genetics. It's 5 specific physical capabilities that the research now recognizes as the strongest markers of how well the body is truly aging, regardless of what the calendar says. Today, I'm going to walk you through all 5 as a clear roadmap, because every single one of these capabilities is trainable, improvable, and directly responsive to the right inputs at nearly any age. And by the end of this video, I'm going to share something new from the research that permanently changes how most people think about what happens after 70. If even one of these capabilities is something you're struggling with right now, that's not a verdict on your future. It's a starting point. Let me start with the first one that predicts survival almost directly. The first capability on our list is standing up from a chair 5 times in a row without using your arms. This is the chair variation of the sit-to-stand test, and it tells me more about long-term health in older adults than almost anything I can measure while they are resting. Try this right now if you can. Sit in a standard chair, ideally one without arms, fold your arms across your chest, and stand up and sit back down 5 times in a row as quickly as you safely can. You want to do this without pushing off with your hands, without using momentum, and without resting between repetitions. If you can complete all 5 repetitions in under 12 seconds, your lower body power, your postural control, and your overall functional reserve are operating at a level that research consistently links to reduced fall risk, reduced disability, and significantly lower long-term mortality. If you can't do it cleanly, if you need to rock, if you need to rest, if you need to push off with your hands, that's not a small thing. That's an early signal that the system is starting to fray. Now, here's the biology behind why this matters so much. Standing from a chair requires your quadriceps, hamstrings, glutes, and calf muscles to generate instantaneous power through a deep range of motion, while your core stabilizes your spine and your vestibular system keeps you balanced at the same time. That combination is precisely what gets lost first when the body begins to decline, and it usually declines in silence long before any diagnosis shows up on a lab report. A large body of geriatric research has shown that adults over 65 who take longer than 12 seconds to complete this simple test have meaningfully higher rates of falls, hospitalization, and disability within the following years. It's not because of any single major disease. It's because the underlying physical reserve has shrunk below the threshold the body needs to live independently. The fix is not to sit in a chair 5 times a day and hope something changes. The fix is to build the specific qualities this test actually demands. Heavy resistance training, particularly squats, sit-to-stand practice, and leg press variations, builds the muscle power the test measures. You don't even need a gym. Slow bodyweight squats through full range, 3 sets of 8 to 12, 2 or 3 times per week, will move the needle quickly. Combine that with 5 minutes of standing balance work each day, and the chair test will get noticeably easier within a month. The second capability is being able to touch your toes while standing with your legs straight. This one looks simple, but the research connecting it to long-term health is some of the most surprising. Stand up, feet together, legs straight but not locked, and reach slowly toward your toes. Bend forward from the hips, not from the lower back. See how far you can actually get. If you can comfortably touch your toes or get within a few inches, your hamstring length, your spinal mobility, and the elasticity of your connective tissue are functioning at a level research consistently associates with healthier arteries, lower blood pressure, and reduced systemic inflammation. If you can't reach past your knees, that's a signal worth taking seriously, regardless of how strong you otherwise feel. Most adults assume flexibility is just an athletic trait, but in older adults, it's a vascular one as well. Here's why flexibility predicts more than athletic performance. The same connective tissue that allows your hamstrings and spine to bend freely also lines the walls of your major arteries, including the aorta itself. When the body loses flexibility in the muscles and fascia, it tends to lose it in the arterial walls at the same time. That stiffness is directly tied to higher systolic blood pressure, higher cardiovascular risk, and overall mortality. The research on arterial stiffness and flexibility consistently shows that adults who maintain full range mobility in their spine and posterior chain have measurably better vascular markers than those who don't, even when controlling for body weight and exercise habits. Now, the fix to this is straightforward. You want 10 minutes a day of targeted flexibility work, forward folds, downward dog positions, child's pose, and seated hamstring stretches held for 30 to 60 seconds each. Don't bounce. Hold the position and breathe into it. Within 3 to 4 weeks of consistent daily practice, most people will see meaningful improvement, and many will be able to touch their toes for the first time in years. The body responds to this work faster than people expect, and the cardiovascular payoff comes right alongside the mobility gain. Capability number 3 is climbing a full flight of stairs without holding the railing. I want you to think about the last time you went up a flight of stairs in your home, in a parking garage, or in a public building. Did you instinctively reach for the railing? Did you feel your legs burning before you reached the top? Did you need to pause halfway up to catch your breath? If you can climb a full flight of stairs, roughly 12 to 15 steps, without grabbing the railing, without stopping to rest, and without becoming severely winded, your leg power, your cardiovascular capacity, and your postural control are functioning at a level research consistently links to significantly reduced risk of heart attack, stroke, and premature death. Stair climbing has been studied for decades as one of the most practical proxies for aerobic capacity in older adults, and it outperforms many formal cardiac risk assessments when predicting long-term outcomes. It works because stair climbing simultaneously demands high threshold leg power, sustained aerobic output, real-time balance, and the integration of multiple body systems under load. That combination simply doesn't lie. If the stairs wipe you out, the system that handles your daily life is closer to the edge than you think. Now, here's how to train this if you want to get better. You don't necessarily need a stair climber at a gym. Every building has stairs. 2 to 3 dedicated stair climbs per week, going up at a brisk pace but not running, will dramatically improve leg power and aerobic capacity within 6 to 8 weeks. If you can find a flight of 10 to 15 steps, climb it 3 to 4 times during a single session, with a full minute of rest between climbs. Over time, gradually increase the number of climbs until you can do 8 to 10 in a row. Within a few months, the same flight that left you breathless will feel almost effortless, and your overall cardiovascular risk profile will change with it. Capability number 4 is being able to lift a 10-pound object overhead with one arm and place it on a high shelf. This one combines shoulder mobility, upper body strength, and core stability in a single movement that most adults haven't consciously tested in years. Reach up, grab a 10-pound object like a bag of flour, a dumbbell, or a weighted grocery bag, and lift it overhead with one arm, fully extending the elbow, and place it gently on a shelf at or slightly above shoulder height. Then repeat with the other arm. If you can do this without significant strain, without compensating from the lower back, and without dropping the object from a weakened grip, your shoulder girdle, your rotator cuff, your upper back musculature, your grip endurance, and your trunk stability are functioning as an integrated system that research links to sustained independence and reduced risk of musculoskeletal injury in older adults. The inability to do this is one of the early signs of sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass and power that begins to accelerate after 60 and picks up speed after 70. Sarcopenia doesn't just affect how heavy things feel. It is directly tied to higher rates of frailty, higher fall risk, higher hospitalization rates, and shorter overall survival. The good news is that sarcopenia is one of the most reversible age-related changes if you intervene with the right kind of training. The fix is upper body resistance work done 2 to 3 times per week, overhead presses with light dumbbells, even starting at just 5 pounds, banded pull-aparts for shoulder blade control, and farmer carries with moderate weight that you can walk with for 30 to 60 seconds will all rebuild the shoulder and upper back structure that makes this movement automatic. You want to emphasize slow, controlled repetitions with full range of motion. The goal isn't to build a bodybuilder physique. The goal is to make lifting a bag of dog food onto a high shelf feel like absolutely nothing at all. That's the standard of independence you want to defend. Capability number 5 is recovering your breath and heart rate quickly after a brief physical effort. After climbing 2 flights of stairs, carrying laundry up a flight, or finishing a brisk walk up a hill, time how long it takes for your breathing to feel completely back to normal and for your heart rate to settle. If you're back to a calm, resting state within 2 minutes, your cardiovascular system and your autonomic nervous system, the part of your nervous system responsible for shifting the body between effort and recovery, are functioning with the reserve that research consistently links to lower cardiovascular mortality, lower metabolic disease rates, and longer overall lifespan. If your heart rate stays elevated for several minutes after you stop, if you keep panting long after you've finished, that's not just being out of shape. It's a marker that your parasympathetic nervous system, the part of your nervous system that handles recovery, is not engaging efficiently, and that inefficiency has been independently linked to higher cardiovascular risk in multiple long-term studies. Recovery is one of those things most people don't think about until it's gone, and by then it has usually been declining for years in the background. The fix is consistent aerobic training in the zone where you can hold a conversation, but you're definitely breathing harder than at rest. Walking briskly, cycling, swimming, rowing, anything that keeps your heart rate in that conversational zone for 30 to 40 minutes, 3 to 4 times per week, will rebuild the recovery capacity you've lost. Over a few months of this work, your resting heart rate will start to drop, and the time it takes to recover from effort will shrink dramatically. That recovery speed is arguably one of the cleanest single markers of how well the entire cardiovascular and nervous system is actually aging. And unlike most lab tests, you can feel it change in your own body week by week. Before I get into what the research says about how all 5 of these together affect your biological age, if this video has already shifted something in how you think about aging, please consider subscribing, because the bigger mission here is to change how primary care handles aging, to move the focus from disease management to functional capacity and longevity, and to do it in a way that's grounded in evidence rather than fear. That only happens when accurate information reaches the people who need it most, and every subscription helps push that forward. The content on this channel is built to translate the actual research into something you can apply in your own life this week. Now, here's the research finding I promised at the beginning of this video. A landmark study used epigenetic aging clocks, which are biological measurements of cellular age rather than just calendar age, to compare how old someone's body actually is biologically versus how many birthdays they have had. Across thousands of adults, those who scored well across functional capabilities, similar to the 5 I have just walked you through, had biological ages measurably younger than their chronological age. We are not talking 1 or 2 years younger. We are talking 5, 10, sometimes more than 15 years of biological youth, simply because their bodies could still perform these markers well. And on the other side, adults who scored poorly across these capabilities had biological ages measurably older than their calendar ages. The body was aging faster than the years were passing. What this means for you is that your chronological age, the number on your driver's license, is just a number. Your biological age is determined by what your body can still do today. And every one of these 5 capabilities I've walked you through is directly trainable at almost any age, including at 70 and beyond. This is not theory. This is what the research now consistently shows. Your body is responding to inputs right now, today, regardless of how old you are. So if you actually want to start turning back the biological clock rather than just accepting the calendar, here's how to do it practically. Pick one of these 5 tests, ideally your worst one, and train specifically toward improving it for 90 days. Don't try to fix all 5 at once. Just master one, then move on to the next. Over the course of a year, you can rebuild all 5, and most of my patients in their 60s and 70s who follow this approach come out the other side, feeling biologically younger, moving with less pain, recovering from effort faster than they did at the start. The body doesn't care about the calendar. It cares about what you ask it to do, and it adapts to the demand you place on it. If you want my complete guide on how to systematically reverse biological age and optimize metabolic health, I've put all of that together in my free metabolic blueprint. You can grab it using the link in the description. It walks through the exact framework I use with my patients to map these 5 capabilities against a training plan that actually fits a real life, even to your old age and gray hairs. I am he. I am he who will sustain you. I have made you and I will carry you. I will sustain you and I will rescue you. This is from the book of Isaiah, chapter 46, verse 4. In my next video, I talk about 4 harsh health realities that